Everybody singing together, singing new song. Put your light in the air for love. It's beautiful, beautiful, yeah. Many mighty ships are sinking. Many stars are falling down. And I count it as a blessing that you hold me up now. You hold me up now. Tell that you've been praying. My whole life is turned around, and I can't go without saying that I thank God for you now. Hey, for you, light in the air. See what you're going through. Light in the air. The truth is beautiful, beautiful. Song. Put your light in the air for love. It's beautiful, beautiful. Everybody say yeah, 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 yeah. Everybody say na 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 na. Everybody say oh 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 oh. Everybody say beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you and your loved ones are all safe and well and having fun. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed it. Bye, guys.
Juneteenth is an annual holiday celebrated on June 19th, commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. It has been around for over 150 years. It all began on June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War was over and that enslaved peoples were to be freed. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation had been issued more than 2 years earlier, it had little effect at the time of signing, as news of the order had not reached the enslaved population of Texas. The first major Juneteenth celebration was held in Austin, Texas in 1867. By 1872, the celebration had been added to a calendar of public events, and that year, black leaders in Texas purchased 10 acres of land to celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth was informally celebrated up until 1980, when Texas became the first state to proclaim Emancipation Day as an official state holiday. Today, nearly all 50 states mark Juneteenth as either a date of observance or a state holiday. Over the years, Juneteenth has been celebrated by Black Americans all over the country in many different ways. On many occasions, an assortment of red foods and drinks are prepared to symbolize perseverance, but celebrations can range from small family gatherings and backyard barbecues to grand festivals and parades featuring exhibitions of African American music, literature, dance, and more. More can be done to further support Juneteenth, such as local and state governments formally recognizing the history and culture of the day, and companies and local businesses incorporating it into their calendars even before it becomes a national holiday. Ultimately, Juneteenth is much more than a holiday. It is a day for Black Americans to celebrate freedom, culture, and heritage, and for everyone to recognize and commemorate this pivotal moment in American history.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Father, as we open up this Juneteenth celebration, God, from the voices of our ancestors, we are here about change. Father, in the name of Jesus, let this June 19, 2021 remind us of what we have been through as a people, as the seeds have been planted in good ground. Father, I pray that everyone who is here, who is listening through virtual, through media, Father, that their lives will be changed and remember what we have gone through as a people, what we are still facing as a nation. But as we unify together, change will come. I pray today is a day of new birth, resurrection of the tears and the blood that will sweat on our behalf. The reason why we're here is because they paved the way. And help us celebrate Juneteenth together. Together we can bring unity to our community.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. We are here to do our libation ceremony for this Juneteenth, 2021. Pouring libation is a traditional African ceremony in which water is poured on the ground in 4 directions that the wind comes from in remembrance and honor of our ancestors, calling on them to be present to witness the celebration of Juneteenth, Jubilee, and Freedom Day. As I repeat a phrase of honor and homage, and you agree, you may respond with the word Ashe, which means be with us, or Amen, and that means as it is said, let it be done. We give all praises to our Creator Almighty, praises and gratitude to our African ancestors and our roots on which we stand. Our Creator gave power for the roots of the trees to spread its branches. Let the spirit of our Creator and ancestors bring us closer in unity. To the north, for the strength to endure the terrors by night and by day. To the south, for the courage to stay true to the creative force we are as we survive. To the east, for the wisdom and knowledge for you, O ancestors, as you continue to pour into our lives, we listen and learn. To the west, for the hope of generations to come and stay united. Ashe, Amen.
Hi, Governor Jay Inslee here. As we know, today is Juneteenth, a solemn day in which we observe the emancipation of the last enslaved people in our nation's history. We celebrate this fact and the progress we've made since the end of the Civil War. It led to the enactment of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which historians of Reconstruction call America's second founding. These amendments were not perfect, but they certainly opened a door to more progress for formerly enslaved black citizens that did not exist when this nation was founded. However, the arc of the moral universe remains on an uncertain course. Black Americans had to suffer and struggle against impossible odds to achieve these freedoms after emancipation. It carried over to the 20th century with new laws passed to address racist discrimination in housing, in education, in the workforce, at lunch counters, and at the ballot box. These freedoms are inherent to all Americans, but they were not guaranteed without struggle. Threats to racial equity remain. The right to vote is under attack nationwide. Gaps in public health revealed COVID's disproportionate impact on black communities and businesses, and the wounds are still healing from the death of George Floyd and the countless others who deserve better. So the struggle continues. That's why I'm proud to say Juneteenth will be a paid state holiday beginning next year, so that our residents have the opportunity to reflect on what that struggle means and what our role can be in lifting all Washingtonians up in the light of justice. Happy Juneteenth. Be well. Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, setting in motion the end of slavery in the United States, and whereas it was not until June 19th, 1865, that it was announced to those still enslaved in Texas, quote, the people are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. And whereas celebration of the end of slavery, which became known as Juneteenth, is the oldest known public celebration of the end of slavery in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth commemorates the role of the ancestors of black Americans they played in this nation's quest for freedom, and whereas on a larger scale, celebration of Juneteenth reminds each of us of the precious promises of freedom, equality, and opportunity, which are at the core of the American dream. And whereas the Washington State Legislature passed legislation in 2021 that makes Juneteenth a state legal holiday, and whereas on June 16th, 2021, Congress passed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, establishing June 19th as the 12th U.S. legal public holiday. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim Saturday, June 19, 2021, as Juneteenth in the state of Washington, and urge all citizens to become aware of the significance of this celebration in American history and in the heritage of our nation and state.
Hello, everybody. This is Miss Gwen, and I am here as your Executive Director of Kent Black Action Commission. And the lettering is KBAC, K-B-A-C. We have been established since 2010. In our first formation, sitting around a table and trying to hash things out. And we've come up with the reasoning for Kent is that most of us who founded this live in Kent. We're all black, if you will. We all have taken a committed effort to be of action in the city of Kent, and we will get those things done. So KBAC has been here, we will be here, and we're grateful for every person that has ever come to a meeting any person who ever was interested in a membership. And right now we're formed as such that we work with folks who want to get things done. And that means that there will continually be a KBAC. No matter what, the work still has to get done. Now, this particular effort that we're putting together is hopefully going to be a global venture. And I say that because we are in the mode of production. We're producing a virtual project for our Juneteenth this year. And you know, a couple of years back, in celebration of our beloved Miss Linda Sweezer, renamed our event to the Linda Sweezer Memorial Juneteenth Celebration and Festival. And we're so happy to be able to say that because Linda was such a precious part of the beginnings of our Juneteenth celebrations. She was the one who was the catalyst to say, let's do a Juneteenth. And from that, she called for all hands on deck. We just got up and we got it done. So we're happy to say that this year's offering for our Linda Sweezer Memorial Juneteenth Celebration and Festival will be through the wonderful access of technology. We have put together a team for production, and we are hoping that we can bring some other knowledge to your knowledge that you have already of Juneteenth. As we all know, the celebration for Juneteenth was in the beginning called a Jubilee Day. And that happened back in 1865 after that notorious action of Colonel Granger going into Texas and making the people aware, including the masters and the enslaved folks, to know that slavery is done. There are no more slaves. And once that took effect and people began to realize their freedoms had been opened up to them again. They had freedom to go and work as they please. They had freedom to go and be a part of voting if they choose to. They could own property and land. However, with everything that comes about, sometimes there are maybe some things that might not have gone said. So that's where we find ourselves here in this present day Juneteenth celebration. Some would say we're not talking about everything that should be done on Juneteenth or how it should be done, or even the understanding and the knowledge about what Juneteenth is all about. Well, we're happy to say that this production is not about everything that KBAC says. We're bringing in voices to have their say-so or their opinions heard and listened to so that we all can really come and sit to the table. So if we want to really make a statement, having bits and pieces of everybody's understanding will make a darn good cake. So come on, let's be a part of this new revolution of celebrating Juneteenth fully and truthfully, not leaving anything undone so nobody's mind will be confused and discombobulated by all of this stuff about Juneteenth. We can get this right. We can do it the way that it's ordained to do for the people, and most especially our African American, Black, Negro, if you will, and all those things that we know have brought us to this point. I'm so excited about this year. Now that you've enjoyed your meal, and we know it was tasty because we only do the best. We don't bring you just anything. I know you're kind of sitting back, you got your meal. Somebody had to take a loose zipper, I bet you. But anyway, we have something else to add to this day. From the hours between 3 and 6, we are going to be having a mind-blowing time for statements, for speeches, for folks to come through and help us celebrate while we're here. Lots of information will be passed around. We ain't in no hurry. We want you to delve into what's going on. We want you to make this a part of the rest of Juneteenth's life in this country and in this world. So we have to have your voice. We have to have our leaders speak to us. We have to have our community folks speak to us. We have to have our youth speak to us. And among all of that also, we're going to have some entertainment for you. We're going to have some entertainment. We're going to do those things that we typically would do outside for Juneteenth, but we're going to be virtually inside your homes or at your cafe or wherever you choose to look at our visual presentation. I'm so excited that we are at that level, you know, because when we first started KBAC, I think somebody used to talk about storming, forming, and norming. We've gotten to that norming part, and we want to keep that going. So thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for loving on KBAC when you do and how you do. Thank you for the opportunity to give your voice a voice.
Hi, I'm Kent Mayor Dana Ralph, and I'm here today to wish you all a happy Juneteenth. This is the first year that Juneteenth is being recognized as an official holiday here for our City of Kent employees, and next year it will be recognized by the state of Washington as an official state holiday. While I agree the recognition is long overdue, I am proud that government is making progress in recognizing the extraordinary sacrifice and contributions made by many of our Black residents. Kent is now the 8th most diverse city in the nation. As a community, diversity is one of our greatest strengths. While I appreciate, honor, and celebrate all of the diversity, I believe it is important to acknowledge our country was literally built on the backs of slaves. That is a different kind of contribution, a forced one, to our history that I believe must be properly acknowledged. Recognizing Juneteenth should be just the start of that recognition. Locally here in Kent, Black Americans have been trailblazers that have made products, services, companies, nonprofits, and demonstrated leadership that has been felt all around the world. Even with the odds stacked against them, our Black residents have persisted because they recognized what they had to offer was something that our community needed. In the end, many of them succeeded and have left a lasting, positive impact that has benefited our community, our region, and our nation. One of the most important parts of recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday is ensuring that all residents are educated to know what Juneteenth is and the significance it plays in American history. History books fail when they only selectively teach history rather than painting an inclusive picture of what America was really like. I want to thank the Kent Black Action Commission and their director, Gwen Allen Karsten, for holding their annual Juneteenth celebration and educating our community year after year about the importance of Juneteenth. Thank you to all the volunteers who spend a great deal of time planning and executing what has truly become a wonderful event every year that is such an important part of our community. I am disappointed that I'm not here seeing you all in person today and celebrating with you, but COVID-19 is one more example where strong Black leaders in our community have had to work around, overcome, and persist. I appreciate you still holding this celebration virtually so we can participate and come together as a community. Here at City Hall, I want to give a special shout out to City Council members Brenda Fincher and Bill Boyce, the first Black woman and Black man elected to Kent City Council. Bill went on to serve as our first Black City Council president. I acknowledge that it took way too long to break the glass ceiling, but I am extremely proud we did as a community. Your contributions, Bill and Brenda, have been nothing less than exceptional. As I wrap up, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you. Things this past year have not been easy, not just COVID, but really recognizing the struggles we have faced between our Black community and systems all across our country. Many Black Americans have been subject to unthinkable things at the hands of organizations and governments that are supposed to protect them. I want you to know that as your mayor, I have heard you, I see you, each and every one of you matter to me. Locally, we are committed to doing better. We will continue to listen to our community, respect your thoughts and concerns, and strive to do better every single day. This issue won't be solved overnight, so please don't give up. Continue to share your thoughts, hopes, and visions for what you want to see in your community. I will continue to listen, will continue to see you, and continue to fight alongside of you here at City Hall every single day. Kent is somewhere that is special. There isn't any other community quite like us. I want to make sure it is a special place for all of us and a place we are all proud to call home. Thank you for your contributions, your continued work in the community, your countless hours, and spending time and energy making Kent an even better place to be. happy Juneteenth. Hi, I'm Kent Mayor Dana Ralph, and I would like to read the proclamation that was presented before the City Council this week regarding Juneteenth of 2021. Whereas on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1863, using his war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be thenceforth and forever free. And whereas almost 2.5 years later, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both the Civil War and slavery. And whereas the story and influence of James Edward Shepperson, who settled in Roslyn, Washington in 1888, inspired many others to flee the South at great risk and pursue new opportunities in Washington state as miners. And whereas we think about the moment in 1888 when 300 black men from Virginia, North Carolina, and Kentucky were determined to escape the terrorism of the post-Civil War South as they boarded trains for the Washington Territory and settled in King County mining camps. And whereas Texans began the celebration of Juneteenth in 1866 with community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gatherings, musical performances, and historical cultural readings. And whereas we acknowledge African American freedom, contributions, and achievements within this community, past and present, and whereas we appreciate the African American experience and celebrate the inclusion of all races, ethnicities, and nationalities, and whereas we commit to working together to achieve equity for all. Now therefore I, Dana Ralph, Mayor of Kent, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2021 to be Juneteenth in the City of Kent, and that we all come together for a celebration, and I encourage all citizens to join me in this celebration. Thank you.
Well, hello, my name is Pastor Raynard Sands. I'm the pastor of Be Like Jesus Ministry, and this is some of my fellow believers and friends. We come down to the Kent City Hall every Saturday, and we pray for the city. We've been doing this now a little over 9 months, and we just wanted God to heal our city. And we still believing for God to heal the city. We believe that through the power of prayer, that God can do what no man can do. And so we ask all of you, if you get to see this, we ask you to come out on Saturday mornings, every Saturday from 11 to 12, and pray with us. And at this time, I'm just going to pray for our city and their celebration. Father, right now in Jesus' name, we thank you that you are the source giver, you're the life giver, and we thank you that you're the healer. And Father, we praying for our city. We pray for our mayor. We pray for our city council. We pray for our police chief. We pray for all our leaders. We pray for our pastors and leaders. We pray, Father, that you will heal our city. We pray, Lord, that this will be a city where Jesus is Lord and where the glory of God is glorified. We pray, Father, that people will walk in love with one another. They forgive one another. They'll help one another. And we come against all of those influences and them devices that are trying to divide. And Father, we just asking you to heal so that you could be glorified. And we'll make sure we give you all the praise, the glory, and the honor in Jesus' name. Amen. And happy Juneteenth, everybody. God bless you.
Good evening. Welcome. We are Kuyate Arts Performance. Tonight you're about to see West African culture. You're going to see singing, dancing, and music. This is an interactive. As you see the music, we encourage you to get up and dance and move around with us because we're all celebrating Juneteenth. We celebrate the success of Juneteenth all around the world right here in Kent, Washington. Kuyate Arts Performance, we celebrate West African culture. We specialize in Guinea, Senegal, Mali, and a little bit of emphasis from the Caribbean. We're excited about our work and we're sharing it with you today. We're all in this world and we talk about arts, cultural arts, we talk about humanity, and today we're talking about Juneteenth. Kuyate Arts is a subsidiary of Adefua Cultural Education Workshop. We're a nonprofit organization and our mission is to serve and preserve West African culture. As you see today, we will have dances, music, and there will be some narrations from our past. A lot of the origins you'll see today started from the 12th and the 13th century, from the Mali Empire. We hope that you enjoy. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to all of you. To my fellow African diaspora and all members of the human race in the United States and around the globe, happy Juneteenth. On this day, June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger marched into Galveston, Texas to deliver General Order Number 3 to the enslaved Africans who lived in Galveston, Texas. General Order Number 3 was informing them that they were now free. This message reached them 30 months after the Emancipation Proclamation of President Lincoln. 6 months after the signing of the 13th Amendment to the US Constitution. The enslavers intentionally did not notify them of their freedom. Thank you, General Granger, for delivering this important message of freedom. Yesterday, we all witnessed President Biden sign the bill making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, VP Harris. Both of you, we appreciate your transformational and visionary leadership. We appreciate you and we honor you. Around the country, governors such as Jay Inslee of Washington State, mayors such as Mayor Dana Ralph of Kent, and many other governors and mayors around the country, they've also stood up long before yesterday's bill signing. They believed in the importance of Juneteenth. They believed in the celebration of what is needed when we talk about freedom. They joined our beloved grandmother, activist, fearless leader, Opal Lee, in helping her realize her dream of seeing Juneteenth become a federal holiday. To all the governors and the mayors across the United States of America who stood up, thank you for your support. Thank you for joining us in making this day a reality. As we celebrate this day, let's all take a moment to reflect on the journey those who came before us have taken. A journey that was and continues to be full of tears and suffering. While we celebrate mission accomplished with the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation and the 1865 13th Amendment to the US Constitution, let's not forget that the mission is yet to be truly accomplished. The conversations that began on June 19th, 1865 must continue. They must continue until all humans in the United States and every corner of the earth are truly free. They must continue until all humans in every corner of the earth are free of racism, bigotry, and hate. The conversations must continue till freedom, equality, and justice flow like the waters in the Mississippi River, flow like the waters in the Nile River, flow like the waters in the Zambezi River, all around our beloved earth. To our ancestors who were forcibly taken out of Africa across the Atlantic, and those who remained in Africa, we stand on your strong, powerful shoulders. We stand on your strong, powerful shoulders today. While we may be in the valley today, we certainly are aiming for the mountaintop. We know you are and always will be with us on this journey. We know you will always be with us till victory is ours, till true freedom reigns in the lives of your children, not only in the United States, but around the world. As we celebrate this day, as members of the human race, it is imperative that we honor all the victims of slavery. We honor the victims of slavery by committing to unity of purpose, by committing to equality and justice for all members of the human race on earth. That we must do, and we owe it to them. Allow me to conclude by reminding all of you today that life as we know it began in Africa. When it is all said and done, we are all Africans. Let's honor the Africans who were taken out of Africa as slaves. Let's commit to building a better world. The building of a better, fair, just, and righteous world is our responsibility as members of the human race. It is our responsibility and ours alone. Let's make that commitment, not only to ourselves, but to our children and generations to come. We have a responsibility to teach our children the truth and nothing but the truth. My fellow members of the human race, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your religion, ethnicity, social or economic status, you and I, we have a responsibility to teach our children true history. Our children are our future. For them to build a better world, an equitable world, we must arm them with knowledge, true knowledge. We must honor our children as well and teach them our history. It is only when they know the truth and nothing but the truth that we can turn this world into a better world for all of us. A world that is just, a world that is fair, a world that is free of racism, bigotry, and hate. We owe it to them. Happy JUNETEENTH, everyone. Have a blessed day.
Wake up from the slumber of 400 years. Free yourself from the mental shackles of slavery and colonization. Africa 101, The Wake Up Call, by Her Excellency Ambassador Ericana Chihambori Kwa, delivering a landmark masterpiece of African history yesterday, today, and its promise for tomorrow. The profound interactive book of self-discovery and self-evident truths, the inspiring story of Africa and her children around the world yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Featuring thought-provoking chapters such as The Evils of Colonization, the Berlin Conference, We Can't Breathe, Get Off Our Necks, Being Black, I Ain't Black, and You Ain't White, a letter from her black sister to her white brother, and many more revealing chapters in this insightful book. Order now and begin your journey. Africa 101, The Wake Up Call. Available at africa101.org or on Amazon.
I released this tune on my Soul CD. The Soul CD looks at the entire history of soul music and the great soul artists. And of course, one of them is the wonderful Marvin Gaye. He wrote this tune in a time of a lot of unrest, social unrest, unjust situations going on, a lot of different things going on with the climate and the planet. And hey, nothing has changed. In fact, it's gotten worse. So I think it's just as important today, if not more important, we're still wondering what's going on.
Hi, I'm Tina Orwell, and I have the honor of representing the 33rd Legislative District in South King County. You know, we had an extraordinary session this year. I'm so proud of the work we've done. We were the most diverse caucus in history of our state. Our Black caucus grew like by threefold. And I want to say thank you, because so much of the work, from police reform to homelessness and poverty and the passage of Juneteenth, was thanks to their leadership. I want to give a special thank you to Representative Morgan, who championed that bill And her speech on the House floor was probably one of the most powerful speeches I heard all session. As a white woman, I come from a place of privilege, and it's so important that I keep learning so that I can be a good ally. Slavery started 400 years ago in this country, and it's been about 150 years since it was abolished. Our country's had more years of slavery than not. And 150 years is not that long ago. And I think of the generations of trauma and how important it is that we keep moving forward for freedom and for independence. And so the passage of Juneteenth allows us to celebrate the steps we've taken and still acknowledge that there's so many more steps to take. We all love the 4th of July, and it's, celebrating Independence Day. But the reality is, for many Americans, independence didn't come till like 85 years later. So celebrating Juneteenth is truly Independence Day for everyone in our country. And so I look forward, I know we're on Zoom this year, but I look forward to being in person. I know KBAC, the Kent Black Action Commission, has led many Juneteenth events. I've been proud to attend many, and I look forward to attending the one next year. Because together we can heal and we can make sure that there's justice for all.
I'm State Representative John Lovick, and I'm so pleased that the legislature passed House Bill 1016 recognizing Juneteenth as a state holiday. I want to take this opportunity to read General Order Number 3 that General Gordon Granger read to the slaves in Galveston, Texas. It said, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere." General Order Number 3 ended a dark and shameful chapter in our nation. I just want to thank all of those who came before me, who sacrificed so much, and gives me the opportunity to stand here and read this proclamation. I want to thank everyone for participating in this celebration. This is a celebration. It's not a sad day, it's a celebration. Thank you for all that you do. Peace, patience, and kindness to all of you. Thank you.
Well now. How you doing? My name is Michael Wansley, otherwise known as Wands. And I'm the guy who sings on that old joint thrift shop. I'm gonna pop some tags, only got $20 in my pocket. And I want to tell you, this year, Juneteenth, for me, means more than it ever has before. More people have figured out the struggle is real. More people have become ally. And what is best, more people have bonded together to fight for our freedom. So, if you're an artist and you're just coming up, hope it doesn't take you 50 years to get to the big break. But in order for you to get that big break, be nice to the people that you are around. You never know. Those people that you're climbing over, they may need to help you up when you fall down. Other than that, just keep practicing your craft, being the best you can possibly be. Take care of one another. And one day, you might end up with one of these. Be good to yourself, then go do it for somebody else. Peace.
Keep putting faith in front and believe the best is yet to come. You'll see nothing in this life comes completely free, but every once in a while you just get lucky. I don't know how this began, being confused and fearing almost everything in the world around me. enslaved plans shoot up and spit out. How to begin again when it feels there's nothing to build with. But I don't always feel this way, and I don't care if you can't relate. Take a breath, breathe it out, take that first step over time. Keep putting faith in front and believe the best is yet to come. You'll see nothing in this life comes completely free, but every once in a while you just get lucky. Lucky to see, lucky to hear, to smell, touch, taste this life. Lucky to be, to have my shot, and what I got is life. Angels, devils on my shoulders, both pulling me different ways. Which is the enemy? I just wanna stop spinning in circles, find the path that takes me out of this valley. Then like a beam straight from the sun, I saw those two make me the one to take a breath, realize it's my choice to fly or die. Keep putting faith in front and believe the best is yet to come. You'll see nothing in this life comes completely free, but every once in a while you just get lucky.
Remember, nothing's over till it's over, and nothing's over till you say, just because this didn't work out don't mean that will surely fail. I can't say what's gonna happen. I didn't come here to read your cards. I'm not here to hand you a tissue just because your damn life got hard. But I will say that anything is possible if you have the strength to try. If you keep reaching, there's a good chance someday you'll surely touch the sky. Chances will keep coming, sure as the sunrise every day. You can choose to sit and watch them pass, or you can grab what's yours to take. So have faith
in front and believe the best is yet to come. You'll see nothing in this life comes completely free, but every once in a while you just get lucky. Lucky to see, lucky to hear, to smell, touch, taste this life. Every once in a while
Hi, everybody. Happy Juneteenth. My name is Charmaine Boston. I am the community liaison for KBAC, Kent Black Action Commission. It's a wonderful day. This is the best thing you're going to do all day long. So your bellies are full. I was part of the food committee, so I know you ate good. So sit back and watch a glorious production of the history of Juneteenth. I was raised in Texas, so Juneteenth has always been a holiday for me and my family. No matter what day the date fell on, we celebrated. We barbecued. My uncle had property down on the river. We go down there and make a day of it. And if it was on the weekend, we celebrated the whole weekend. I know there's a bunch of questioning and reasonings behind the Juneteenth celebration, but that's when the slaves in Texas found out that they were free. So I know other cities and other places celebrate different dates, and they even celebrate the Juneteenth. But Juneteenth is a special day in my heart. And when I found out KBAC, way up here in Washington, was celebrating Juneteenth, my heart just fluttered. I became a member of KBAC at that time. And since then, we have been celebrating Juneteenth and doing it big. Just like this year, we're going to do it big. We're going to present some controversial things. We're going to present some ideas, some entertainment, some real good time, just a real good time, as if we were out in the park again. So Juneteenth for me is a great day. It's a day of history. It's a day of family. It's a day of reaching out to each other, celebrating with each other, loving each other. So come out with your family, maybe have a watch party with your family. This is going to be a great celebration. This is going to be a great production. Thanks to Davies. He's a great guy. So I encourage you to not only be a part of this conversation, meet us in the middle, something that we should do with each other again, talk about it. That's the only way we're going to solve these things. So thank you for coming out to eat with us, and thank you even more for sitting down with your families and listening to all the things that we have for you, all the teachings that we have for you. I would hope you enjoy this and take it with you in your minds, your hearts, and your souls. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mia Gregerson, State Representative from the 33rd Legislative District, and I want to say congratulations to all of us for the first year that we're going to be able to celebrate Juneteenth holiday. Washington State has a long history of being progressive and using policies to ensure that everyone is included, but Juneteenth is such a huge change in making sure that not only is it a day we can reflect and ensure that we're all committed to this, but that it won't happen again. So with that, congratulations on the first Juneteenth this year. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
My name is Eddie Rye Jr. I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. I didn't move to Seattle with my family until 1952. Therefore, I celebrated quite a few Juneteenths that were celebrated in Shreveport as well as with my relatives in Texas. We came to Seattle because my father, Eddie Rice Sr., was appointed as the Northwest organizer for the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. Back in those days, that was the only union that a black man could belong to. And over the years, I became active in quite a few activities. I also saw very early on the discriminatory practices. After leaving Louisiana, having an upfront and personalized relationship with segregation, I could tell it even up here when we moved to Seattle. We knew that we were isolated. We knew that all of the folks of color lived pretty much in the same neighborhoods. Being a Garfield graduate, go Bulldogs, we had a very diverse student population, even though in those days we did not have civil rights. In those days, if you were in the wrong neighborhood, the po-po show could pull you over and give you a hard time. Over the years, I've been involved in a lot of organizations. I was chair of the Central Seattle Community Council Housing Federation that released the first report on redlining in Seattle and the central area of Seattle in 1973. Other activities I've been involved with is changing the name of Empire Way to Martin Luther King Way to honor Dr. King. That began in November 1980 with an interview with Reverend Jesse Jackson, and it went to the Seattle City Council in 81. Anyway, it ended up in Washington State Supreme Court because some people didn't agree with the idea, and we eventually prevailed in the Washington State Supreme Court. We have other vestiges of racism that we've had to deal with here. I work with a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Rosenblum, whose family had property in the North Cascades, and he kept seeing a sign saying Coon Lake and Coon Creek, and he asked one of the relatives, "How come you never sees any raccoon?" We got to talk about that kind of coon. So with Jonathan Rosenblum's leadership and others, we were able to restore that name to the black settler and miner who it was named for, a gentleman by the name of Wilson Howard. It is now Howard Lake and Howard Creek. Also was involved with working with former State Representative Hans Dunshee in changing the name. In 1941, the Daughters of the Confederacy named Highway 99 the Jefferson Davis Highway from the Canadian border to the Oregon border. Even though the Washington State Transportation Commission refutes this, I indicated why would they have a ceremony at the Canadian border and have another one in Vancouver, Washington. We were successful in getting the name of Jefferson Davis removed. However, we're still waiting to have the black man who was a Civil War veteran fighting for the Union Army and buried in Everett in Snohomish County, William Stewart. We're waiting to have the Transportation Commission do the right thing and name that highway after that brother that fought to stop the insurrection and the overthrow of the government like we witnessed on January 6th. The same kind of civil war continues to happen. Other things I've been working on is economic justice for African descendants of the United States enslaved. We've been here 400 years. We're at the bottom rung of any economic ladder, and I know some people are doing well, but most are not. And in Washington State, we still don't have affirmative action after 23 years. And we're imploring Governor Jay Inslee to sign an executive order to restore affirmative action. Initiative 200 did not kill affirmative action. Governor Gary Locke's Governor's Directive 98-01 is what killed affirmative action. And anytime a lot of folks, the January 6th mentality, have an opportunity to use anything to deny African descendant of the United States enslaved an opportunity, they will throw up I-200. I-200 did not kill affirmative action. Governor Locke's Directive 98-01 killed affirmative action. Governor Inslee's in his third term. He should have the wherewithal to do the right thing and rescind that 98-01 directive and sign an executive order restoring affirmative action. I've also been very involved with making sure that people who are younger than me get some of the knowledge that I've been able to acquire, School of Hard Knocks. But some of the things we have to do, we keep talking about reparations. And what we need to do right now is I've asked several members of the Congressional Black Caucus to get a federal designation for African descendants of United States enslaved in every federal agency. So we don't have to ask the man for anything. We have enough blacks working in the United States government to easily transition into a department for African descendants of United States enslaved. We also need to be doing the same thing in Martin Luther King County. We need to be doing it all across the state of Washington, all across the country, while we discuss reparations. We just witnessed what happened in depth of what happened at Black Wall Street, the burning, the bombing of Greenwood. And so if you think that that's something, you ought to see the economic havoc that's happened across this country. People don't care. The racism here, 45 has brought them out the woodwork. They've been here the whole time. And we have had to be resilient and resolved. The most important thing that Congresswoman Maxine Waters expressed on the last Thursday, January 3rd, is the fact, June 3rd, I should say, that the most important thing for us to do right now is make sure we assure our right to vote. because if you're not participating in the electoral process, you're not going to have any say-so on what's happening. So it's imperative that everybody register and vote. It's imperative that everybody encourages others to register. And if you can't vote, help somebody else get their vote in. And have ballot parties. Discuss the issues. See what's best for the black community. And then pursue that until we get the results that we're seeking. And also support our blacks running for office, and hopefully those blacks will be accountable to the black community. And hopefully economic justice and economic development for our community will be one of their priorities. It's unfortunate that in this legislative session, we did not have any legislation restoring affirmative action. I don't know what the methodology is, what the strategy is, but I don't think we can wait another year. A lot of people that have jobs and contracts, they can wait another year, but there are a whole bunch of black folks that don't have those opportunities. This includes access to universities, colleges, universities in the state. Right now, there are more blacks at the University of Washington in undergraduate and graduate school in 1974 than there is in 2021. Something is wrong with that picture. And I know we have a lot of brothers and sisters playing sports for the team. Here's a good example. The men's football and basketball make $70 million a year. But the university says because of I-200, we can no longer recruit blacks from HBCUs to take advantage of postgraduate opportunities at the University of Washington. And we know that Herm McKinney, several decades ago, had his job was to go to recruit students from historically black college universities to come to the University of Washington School of Social Work. The University of Washington has to have a commitment to our people. We know there are a lot of foreign students. We know that. But those are not the students who built this country. We talk about reparations. Come on, University of Washington, let's get started. I mean, we did a lot of work for free. We've died in every war. It's about time we start getting paid back. And it's really disheartening when you have some people come over acting as racist as other folks, and our people have died freeing them. Really sickening, but that's the way the world works. All I can say is that we need to stay together. We need to register to vote. We need to be an advocate, and we need to demand economic justice and economic inclusion, because it's your money too. Thank you very much, and happy Juneteenth.
Hello, community members. I'm Robert Hollis. I'm a commander with the Kent Police Department, and I want to wish everybody a happy Juneteenth. I'm excited to be here talking to you today. Excited for what we have in store for our community members. My hope is, in the light of the events that happened with George Floyd, that our community members will be able to start coming together with our police department, and we can start talking about real issues. My hope is that we can sit down, that we have the opportunity to listen, to really hear the concerns of our community members, because we want to find a way forward, and we know that we can't do this by ourselves. And so what better way than on this day of Juneteenth to come out and talk with our community members and find a way in which we can all come together, find a way in which we can all come and sit down together at the table and figure out a way in which together we can move forward in eradicating racism. So thank you very much for everyone being here today. I hope that you enjoy the entertainment. I hope that you enjoy the speakers that are going to be here today. Have a great Juneteenth.
ones down. It's a reason I keep one now. How many of our brothers with that same thought? It wasn't talk about business, but the slang, bro. And I know they judge us by the color of our skin. Promoting hate, promoting fake, they don't wanna see us win. That's why I gotta keep the Bible and get right within. Cause ain't no change up in your life until you right with They try to shake me, break me, but they can never take me. They ain't make me. I know the police hate me, so I'm skating. Just an African boy focused on caking. And I don't fear no man, I stand near no man. They say the land of the free, I think we need more land. We call him Uncle Sam, I know that man not fan. Whether you black or you white, you either stand or get blamed.
Take me away to some other place where we feel safe, feel safe. Take me, take me, take me, take me, yeah. Take me, take me, take me, take me, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kent City Council Member Brenda Fincher, and I want to thank Kent Black Action Commission, KBAC, for the sponsoring of this Linda Sweezer 10th Annual Juneteenth Celebration. I've been coming to these Juneteenth celebrations since KBAC started them, and I am so happy that they take place. My favorite part is usually the Buffalo Soldiers. What I especially like about them is that they bring some nuggets of history with them to help educate about Juneteenth. One nugget of history that many people may not know is that the first Juneteenth celebration to be held in the Pacific Northwest was right here in Kent. It was in 1890. So June 19th, 1890. The property owners were Pauline and William Scott. The Scotts owned a barber shop in Seattle that burned down the year before in the Great Seattle Fire, 1889, and they moved out to Kent. They say that there were people from Tacoma to Seattle all came together here in Kent on their property to be able to celebrate Freedom Day or Juneteenth. So with that, the Scotts, they were quite industrious. We know that they sold timber. We know that they had a truck farm, and we know that they also sold rights for companies who needed to cross their land. So if you had to drive across their land, maybe to get timber or something else, then their land was what you had to pay to cross. And so that's how Juneteenth first came to this region. So I was very proud to know that African Americans were here in Kent in 1890 and celebrating Juneteenth. That's important that we still keep this going and do this today and do this for years to come because it does preserve the history. We know that there are movements that have been trying to cover up some of what has happened. We know in our history books, much of history is left out. And so it's important that we hold on to the tradition of Juneteenth, to the music, to the food, to the celebrations, to being able to know and share the history. Just like the big old family picnic that it was back then, we need to keep that now to keep the community strong. Anyway, I am glad that you are here today with us. I am glad that even in a pandemic, Juneteenth was kept going. Thank you again, KBAC. And enjoy the day, and next year, I hope to see you out at Morrow Meadows Park, being able to enjoy, to dance, to learn, and to just experience the real Juneteenth celebration. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kendrick Glover, and I serve as the founder and executive director of Glover Empower Mentoring, aka GEM, GEM, here in the city of Kent, Washington. Our headquarters is located on Central Avenue, and where we focus on the social emotional well-being of youth and young adults. We operate 15 different programs under 3 different categories. We have our community programs, which includes our mentoring and our case management programs. We have our our diversion programs, which works with young people who just so happen to intervene with the criminal justice system. And then we have our athletic programs, and where we work with young people on 2 of our AAU basketball teams that we have. The whole purpose of GEM is not only to disrupt, but dismantle the racist systems that we have in education, in housing, in employment. Those 3 key areas that we focus on for our youth and our families, because those are areas they are coming in at a deficit at. Our young people are not getting the education access that they need. Our families are not getting opportunities for employment at a higher level that they need to survive. And they're also not having the opportunity for having ownership into homes. So these things we fight for on a daily basis, but we first fight for them by giving our young people an opportunity to be self-advocates. And what we mean by that is giving them the tools and the skills that they need to advocate, not just for themselves, but for their families, and not just in their home, but in their school, in their communities as well.
Hi, I'm Kim Schreier, representative from Washington's 8th Congressional District, and I am so excited to share with you that this week the Senate and the House passed a bill that finally made Juneteenth a federal holiday. This is so important because it recognizes the official end of slavery. For those of you who don't know, might think that the Emancipation Proclamation signed January 1st of 1863 was the end of slavery. But it took so long for word to finally get to the last enslaved people in Texas that the official end of slavery really didn't happen until Juneteenth in 1865. So this is a real celebration. It's something that every American should know about and that we should all celebrate. So, happy Juneteenth. I'm delighted that we passed this and that our president has signed it into law. And happy Juneteenth.
Hello, this is Michael Powers. Miles Davis is keeping an eye on me back here. And I am honored to be a part of the KBAC 2021 Juneteenth celebration. They asked me to play this song, and I'd never actually played it in my life. So I've made this arrangement just for KBAC. And here it is, because, you know, one day we will overcome.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Reverend Jimmy James, and I am the project coordinator for Restore, Assemble, Produce, which has the acronym of RAP. And welcome to everyone as we celebrate this Juneteenth in the year 2021. And I think this is a very most important year that we understand the importance of what Juneteenth is all about. For those who do not know, Juneteenth really represents in the state of Texas, after the Emancipation Proclamation, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, over 100,000 slaves, 200,000 former slaves, I would say they're still slaves, because the slave owners did not inform them of the new law that was passed that slaves were free. And so therefore, when some of the officials marched into Texas, they found slaves still working in the cotton fields, still working on plantations, having no idea that they were at that time free. And the slave owners deliberately kept them working for all their specific reasons. The main reason was, hey, we making money. It's about our crops. It's about making sure that we get the harvest in. And so even after they were told that they must set them free, a lot of the slave owners still continued to make them continue to work. They still didn't pass that information. The state itself refused to enforce the law that was passed in the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation, to make sure that people understood that slaves are free. There's no more slavery in America. And so therefore, that began the celebration when these people realized that, hey, we're free and we don't have to do this anymore. It became a time of understanding for themselves that, hey, we're going to stand behind this. This shows that we are human, that we are a people. We're not just chattel. We're not just a piece of equipment, someone that you can use and abuse. We're human beings, and we want to, and so the celebration of Juneteenth became something that they grabbed into their hearts. And so it spread throughout the country, not just for the state of Texas, but for Black Americans all across this nation. This represents, hey, this is what's going on. It happened back then and it's happening now. It's still happening today. A lot of people say, oh, that was the past. No, in the past, we still have people who are still being oppressed, people who are still being treated unfairly because of the color of their skin, especially Black Americans, people who are being refused housing and jobs and the same rights as everyone else. How does that relate today as we have this Black Lives Matter movement? As the same way that they were beating and shooting and killing and lynching and hanging blacks because they would even think about saying that, hey, I'm free, it's happening today. People are being shot. We have a long list. The Breonna Taylors. We have all of the people that are continuing being shot, killed, and murdered because they are Black. Not because they committed a crime, not because they did anything wrong, but because they're Black. And so someone said to me, if it's happening, if it was happening there in the past, if it's still happening now, it's not the present. They said, we're still in the past. And that's what's going on today. And that's what we do here at Restore, Assemble, Produce. We want to make sure that people know, because what was going on was they didn't know. But today we have the technology, we have the means, and we want to make sure that people know all across this land, all across this world that, hey, we as a Black people, we are proud of who we are. We do have dignity. We're not all the lies in the midst of what people try to make us out of. And we use our young people, utilize our young people, not use. We utilize our young people right here at Restore, Assemble, Produce with this radio studio that you're looking at right now, that where they're able to spread that message, to give them a voice, to say, hey, this is what's going with us. If we have racial issues, racial trauma, if we have inequities, injustices, oppression, all of those things that our young people are seeing that are happening today, they have the opportunity here at Restore, Assemble, Produce using rap radio to spread that message across, to encourage each other, to encourage the community, and let the young people have the voice, and to show them that, no, we're not going to continue to move like it was with the Emancipation Proclamation and the terrible things that they did that caused the Juneteenth, but today and now, people are free because they have the information, they have the technology, they have the will, and they have the ability and the capacity to speak their minds and spread the word that, yes, Black lives do matter, that we are a people, that we are part of this country and part of this nation, that most of the things in this country would not even exist or being built or made or invented. They were made on the backs of Black Americans. And so that's what rap is all about today with this radio station. It's rap radio. And you can be part of rap radio also as we continue to push forward the pride that we have in Juneteenth. I want to thank Kent Black Action Commission for spearheading Juneteenth. It was one of their charter ground events, and they have continued this through the COVID, through all types of situations and issues. They have been faithful to this call. I want to thank their whole team, the whole staff, and their executive director, Gwen Allen Karsten, for being dedicated to make sure that this community, that this state, that this county understand the value of Juneteenth and what it means not only to us as Black people, but what it means to our nation. This is Reverend Jimmy James. Thank you.
What up, y'all? My name is Dre's from Seattle area, hip hop artist, activist, and I'm excited to be here. Really just to talk about Juneteenth. For me, Juneteenth is probably the most important holiday in America, to be honest with you. Many of us know that from the inception of this country, racism has been a part of it. And with the ideals that we believe in, being life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, freedom is at the core of what our beliefs are as Americans. And Juneteenth really marks the date where we signify the eradication of that slavery. So it's important for everyone to celebrate, not just Black people, but people of all races. This is a day of celebration. I know it's a day that's challenging. It comes with a lot of pain, and people don't really know how to celebrate it. How do I enter this day and how do I enter this space? But I'm really proud of the state of Washington and of our country, because I feel like we're turning a corner. And for the first time, we're all going, you know what? Maybe we don't know how to move forward, but we know we have to move forward. And that starts with us recognizing Juneteenth, recognizing the importance of it, having important discussions, feeling, right, the pain and the trauma of the past. And that's the only way we're all gonna heal. So with that, I guess I just wanna say to everybody here throughout the state of Washington and around the country who may be watching this, happy Juneteenth. Congratulations, America. Man, we're getting it right. Let's keep moving and pressing forward.
Hi, my name is Dave Upthegrove, King County Council Member from District 5 in South King County, which includes much of the city of Kent. And I am proud to share that this past year, with my support, the King County Council has made Juneteenth a paid holiday for county employees. And this is important to me. And some might wonder, you know, why would a white guy care about Juneteenth? Well, one, I'm proud to represent such a diverse community here. But more importantly, Juneteenth serves as a reminder to all of us of the legacy and the history of racism in this country. And by recognizing the end of slavery I think all of us are reminded of how recent this horrible tragedy was, but also a reminder of the systemic and structural racism that continues today. And for me, Juneteenth is a reminder of how important it is for us all to be anti-racist and to work to try to provide equal rights and fair treatment for all. We're celebrating Juneteenth this year in the shadow of a large movement in the streets following the murder of George Floyd. And for me, this movement is about justice. Justice for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And delivering justice means rooting out institutional racism throughout our criminal justice system. It means making sure people not only are safe, but feel safe in their homes. And delivering justice means listening to the voices of those most impacted by injustice, which is why staying connected to the community is so important to me and why I've been focused on listening. You know, when I started this job, I sat down with a group of young African Americans in a mentoring program at Phoenix Academy in Kent. And 201, those young people told me how when they encounter the criminal legal system, it makes it harder, not easier, to turn their lives around. So working with the leader of that mentoring program and leaders from all over King County, we passed the Best Starts for Kids ballot measure. And now we have a program at South Center Mall where when a young person shoplifts, instead of immediately being thrown in the back of a police cruiser, they're instead immediately paired up with a counselor on site who cares about them and their future. And as a result, more than 200 young people, mostly kids of color, have first avoided a criminal record and second, turned their lives around. And as we celebrate Juneteenth, this is the kind of systemic change we need to continue to support and promote to ensure that we learn from the history of our country and create a future that is more just and provides equal rights and fair treatment for all. Happy Juneteenth.
For me, I try to live Juneteenth, right? I want my entire lifestyle to be embracing freedom in my mind and in my actions and how I impact the community around me. My most recent movement is something we call Building Black Wealth. And the idea is creating wealth for people of African descent in this country. It's important because America was founded, built, established, and is maintained on the ability to have access to currency and to really have the knowledge of what to do with currency. So we're not just talking about money, but we're talking about wealth. African Americans make $1.2 trillion annually. $1.2 trillion annually. But there's a new recent study that says by the year 2053, African Americans are not going to have any wealth, meaning we'll be in America, we'll have jobs, but we won't own homes. Nobody wants that to be the trend. And so with my lifestyle and hopefully to impact young people, I started Building Black Wealth, where we're trying to train and educate people about money, how to use money, right? We have an education system where when you graduate from college, you don't know anything about credit, right? Somebody shoves a credit card in your hand and you start using it thinking it's free money. And there's so many other things that can be pitfalls, but also opportunities to grow. And so with Building Black Wealth, we're taking the responsibility to educate ourselves, and not just educate ourselves, but challenge people to support Black-owned businesses. One of the the most important things I think anyone can do is support Black-owned businesses. We don't necessarily, reparations is important and we need that, but until that happens, this is something people can do. We can make the conscious choice that I'm gonna support Black-owned businesses. I'm gonna spend my money at a Black-owned pizza shop or a Black-owned toiletries or whatever it is, right? We make every product under the sun. So I want to challenge people this next year. Support Black-owned businesses. Spend your money with Black-owned businesses. I mean, maybe you can get your home to 25% Black-owned. Wouldn't that be cool, right? And so those are the types of things that I challenge young people to do and to think about. And the real question is, some people say, why? My question is, why not? Right? Wouldn't that be really cool for all of us to be able to do something like that? So, you know, I got a new video called Building Black Wealth, and why don't y'all check it out real quick? This is Dre's featuring O.R. Arunga, Building Black Wealth.
Mukoma Drazy.
Now, I was brought up in a small village in Zimbabwe called Dangambuda. My address is P35B. Trying to look that up on a map, boy. Anyways, I just remember the feeling, the vibe of the life. You know what I mean? Like, we ate whatever my grandma had in the garden. You know what I mean? She had the mango tree. We used to eat the greens from the garden, the tomatoes, all of that. You know, the chicken, they kill it right there. You gonna eat it for dinner tonight? That's real life. But I remember after all that, we didn't really have TV or nothing like that. So they would set a fire and we'd all go sit around the fire. We would sing, play games and tell stories, you know? They told me, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. So I spend money with folks who look just like me. I know in every hood that there's a Nipsey, but you won't rock with him until he's on TV, but not me, nope. It's all black everything. Might buy the wife's emoji diamonds for the wedding ring. I don't understand those who don't support their own. I can tell you what I'm on, but you probably wouldn't know I'm different with mine. Watch came from Tally and Twine. First we fitted from Cthulhu. I shop Zuvu online, ladies. Why go to Asians when you can go down to powder? Wigs from there. When there's royal strands here, I need you to care. Leave that Victoria's Secret there for that Savage Fenty. Matter of fact, a couple pair. Nah, this ain't no trend. Black business, how I live. From my wife to the kid, whole squad know what it is. I bank with One United. I stream my music from Tidal. I stopped seeing people with melanin as a rival. Sipping that Earl Stevens, a rock on the rocks, nigga. International Dre's my celly service from Vickers. Sometimes I rock with Uber, sometimes I keep it moving. I shop at Simply Wholesome, I'm watching what I'm consuming. Nah, I ain't no vegan, the reason the Trap Kitchen. That mac and cheese from my 2 cents. Linda, listen, this is the art of homage. Yahweh on my back. How is it contradicting if the savior is black? I'm different, I know. I wipe my ass with freedom tissue. You say I'm going too far, I say self-love is your issue. And I don't need a billion of us, I just need a few. And some white folks who ain't afraid of equality too. Reparations are due, and that's true. But in the meantime, what if me and you just supported me and you? I mean, I would say something like the Jews, but you are the... Man, forget it, stay confused and keep serving the system that ain't serving you. Why you think I got O in the back, blowing the blues? And they don't like when I start adding 2 and 2, so I drop clues. Deuteronomy 28, yo, that's you. If you ain't rocking with this, your problems are bigger. You're subconsciously aligned with the one who put the trigger. With this baton in my hand, I ain't claimed to know dude, but I was moved. So yo, this marathon continues, and I know you probably never heard of most of this stuff, but you got that search on your phone, man, look it up. Our products are not inferior to lies they telling us. We're building a black business in America is rough. If you can't buy in bulk, it drives the price up. Yep, you might have to spend a couple extra bucks. Small price to pay for peace of mind and health. Building black wealth, spend money with yourself. It's a small price to pay for your freedom and health. Building black wealth, spend money with yourself. No excuses. No excuses. Building black wealth, spend money with yourself. No excuses. No excuses. Building black wealth, spending money with
Happy Juneteenth. My name is Latasha Jackson Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of Restore, Assemble, Produce, better known in the community as RAP. Juneteenth means to me power, liberty, freedom. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and I recall being a little girl hearing this big clock. It was this big old giant clock in the middle of the city that used to ring in the middle of the city. You can hear from anywhere in the city at a certain time every day, and I just never understood that. We would be on Bay Street going down by Augusta Avenue, and I would hear that clock, but I just never knew, why is that giant clock sitting there? It wasn't until later I found out that this clock was the actual clock, and the time would go off because this was a time when the slaves came in off the ship. Yeah, I lived in a city where they actually came in on the port. And they came in the city and they had our black men, they had our black women, and they had our children standing on the auction block. And it was that time of the day that all of these people just surrounded that auction block. And that's where the beginning of our black men being separated from their wives and their children. Our children crying and screaming because they're going in a different direction. Our mothers had to leave, and sometimes with the children. It was then that I understood even more as an adult when Martin Luther King said he had a dream. And he had a dream. A lot of people don't understand that he was a prophet and God showed him things. But I want to say today that I too had a dream. I had a dream where I was to go and I helped youth that was losing who they were, youth that was losing their minds, youth that was in trouble, youth that was dying. And I too didn't understand that it was a time such as now that I had to come to Washington to begin to help our youth in the community. And that's where RAP came from. RAP came from that dream, that vision, that understanding back from Savannah, Georgia. And here we are today. We try and teach our children. We try and teach them who they are, never to forget where they come from. We try to teach them their rights. We try to teach them why they should fight harder. We try to teach them that they're our future, and we want our future to look bright. So we pour into them. I want to say thank you, and I want to leave one encouraging word. Never forget where you come from. I don't care about how many riches you have. I don't care how many businesses you have, how many degrees you have. Don't forget where you come from. Go back to the landmark. Teach another. I noticed that the Indians do it. They tell the story, that the story is never lost. Teach our children. Teach your kids, your grandkids, what the history is that is never lost. Thank you so much. On behalf of Restore, Assemble, Produce, we love you. Happy Juneteenth.
Hi, my name is Squeak Nutty Bug, hip-hop recording artist from Seattle. I was lucky enough at the age of 17 to get signed to a record label that has carried my life in the hip-hop community from then to now. Juneteenth means a lot to me. It means freedom. It means our history and our future. I use this platform of hip-hop to send a positive message to all the youth. Now, don't get me wrong. My background, I may come from gangs and violence, but let me tell you this. Hip-hop has carried me through. That's why I'll always use this platform to send a positive message to our youth. Now, understand when I say positive, I've done things with hip-hop like Census 2020, voters registration, always the Black History Month, and right now I'm doing something for Juneteenth. I always like to use these opportunities to let everyone know that hip-hop is a real strong, positive motivation to the youth. So if we use that in a positive way, we'll always be able to educate and keep them steered in a good and right direction. Now, please enjoy this and always give me an opportunity to get on the mic and do what I do for our community. All right? Now, happy Juneteenth, and everybody enjoy.
Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes. Teaching you info, just follow the flow. Follow the flow. Turn up the counts. Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes. Teaching you info, just follow the flow. Don't mean to offend you, but don't miss the boat. Since it's Alliance, we turn up the count. Don't miss the message, you count cause you count. Empowering people with your voice, say it loud. Community needs your involvement right now. Schools, community needs funding, please help. 10 simple questions to answer, no sweat. Community unity is a powerful drift. 2020 census is the vibe we on now. And if you have questions, then I'll show you how.
Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes. Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes. Turn up the counts, turn up the votes. Turn up the counts, turn up the votes. Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes. Let's turn up the counts, let's turn up the votes.
Hello, my name is Dawn Mason. I live in Seattle, Washington, King County. I'm a former Washington State representative. And now I am an Elder of Distinction, a title of which I am most proud. When a community appoints you as an elder, it's an appointment of trust. It's an appointment of continued expectation. The expectation that we will take the wisdom and the knowledge that we have learned along the way and use it to invest in our children's well-being and their future. In doing that, we are building. This month, we have recognized anniversaries of the burning down of a community in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma. So as we build, our communities might be burned down, or there might be policies that, banking policies, taxing policies. These are policies that are put in place that diminish our ability to come together and work together. Weed and seed might as well have been a fire. It brought into our community drugs, brought into our community guns, it brought into our community miseducation, it brought into our community expulsions from schools, would put our children on the streets while their parents were working, they were being recruited. It brought in people who knew how to organize gangs. It brought in division. That's what colonizing did also. It brought in division, and fights and coups, which weakens the people. It weakens. But we are growing together now. There is a new normal. Our pandemic has allowed us to be home, to think, to work together, using technology, have all kind of meetings, Microsoft, Zoom, FaceTime, teleconferences, or just mailing someone a note, thanking them for the work that they do. Whatever it takes, we are building. We're building a new wealth, equity. We do expect that the billions and billions and billions we were cheated out of. Trillions over 3-4 centuries and more. And even today. There is no wealth equity. But as a self-determined people, we will stand up and demand that we get what is ours. We're working for it. We aren't just sitting down. When you looked over last summer, those were black faces marching. Yes, we had whites and others that came along with us. But Dr. Martin Luther King, in 1967, in an interview, he says that, yes, they marched with us in Birmingham and in Selma. They didn't like the atrocities they saw happening to black Americans. But after the marches were over, they went home. They became ambiguous, fluctuated. So we see the Black Lives Matter signs back in the windows. And we still get reports of people being passed over for promotions. Yes, they might put a few executives in these large corporations, black executives. But that doesn't mean that systems will change. It doesn't mean cultures will change. That takes years and years. Again, Dr. King said that immigrant populations, they face systemic racism just like we do. But they get around it. It's hard, but they get around it. They didn't have their culture taken. They didn't have their language taken. We had our culture taken, our language taken. A culture that brings us to loving ourselves and loving each other. They created a culture of division. But we're changing that every day. There is a new normal. I'm glad to be part of that. I'm glad to work with Africatown, King County Equity Now, and those elected officials that we have that are doing the work. That I interact with Jeremiah on a regular basis. And he's doing a great job. We have elected David Hackney, Kristen Harris-Talley. They're doing our work and listening to us. Because if they don't, we are voting nowadays. So we'll just vote them out of office. But I think that they will do the work. I've had a chance to speak with all of them. But we as a people must do the work also. Those that are in the diaspora, which are what we call those from Africa who come from all over the world, that's what we call our diaspora. Maybe they weren't former slaves, but they have to remember that once their children are born black in America and they no longer have an accent or looked upon as exotic, they will be treated exactly the same as any other black person in America. Now that I know to be true. I do know that to be true. So let's remember, let's teach our children. I'm proud that we have a decolonized, pro-black, pro-indigenous, anti-racist school at Rainier Valley Leadership Academy. And there's so many people doing good work, but I want to give a shout out to Bayon Coleman for the work that she's done to turn that school around and have something to offer our children, middle and high school, and she's just been approved to put in elementary school. So with first place having early learning, along with Tiny Tots, with Angela Maxey on the south end, and first place in the Central District, we can educate our own children from when they're very young all the way through high school in decolonized, anti-racist, pro-black environments. Pro-black is not anti-white. It's anti-racist. I want everyone to understand that. And for families who may not be black, but they want their children to have an anti-racist education, then put them in an anti-racist school. Because we can teach any child. Just like we raised all the children in America for 300 and 400 years, almost all of them had a black woman or a black man or both, someplace close doing something that their parents didn't want to do or did not know how to do. So with that said, let's go remember there's a lot of events that are going on as we get through the summer. Be safe. Be safe. Double mask. Be careful. We have a lot of work to do and we have a future that we want for our children. And we want to be the determinants of what that future looks like. And we don't want it to look like the past. So we must be smart. I thank Isaac Joy for the work that he's doing at King County Equity Now. Trey Holiday, Elijah Smith, I work with them daily as the chair of that organization, which has brought together 40, 50 other organizations. That's the way we can get the work done. And for White King Garrett, who has been the brains of Africatown. And the late Charlene Williams, who taught us about Juneteenth, not just the day Juneteenth, but all the things that it means. All the things that resonate with that when you say Juneteenth. What does that mean? What does that mean? When we speak about Tulsa, then we have to think about Omaha that was burned when they lynched Willie Brown, a 2-day riot. They called it the Red Summer because there were so many riots. There were 80. And then Rosewood. So we have many, many things that this is just symbolic of. And we must remember and never forget. And we must teach our children. Thank you for this time with you. Now go learn, be knowledgeable, be great. And then remember this, that today is the tomorrow we worried about yesterday. So let's each day go forward. Thank you so much.
It spins around. Just don't let the spin get you down. Things are moving fast. Hold on tight and you self-respect, your manly pride. Get yourself in gear, keep your stride. Never mind your fear. Brighter days will soon be here. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, my name is Tasha Haskins, and I am, before all of this that you see, I am actually a resident of the city of Kent. I've newly relocated back here, but actually in the early 90s, I lived here with my family as well. So in middle school and high school, I lived in kind of the Kent border, Renton area. And so this is kind of like coming back home. But as you can see, I was formerly Ms. Washington Curvey, and I am now representing actually the Globe as Mrs. Curvey Globe in 2020. What was important for me to share today is when you think about the concept of Juneteenth and true independence for people that look like me. Historically, we were celebrating, the 4th of July. And when you actually look back historically, people that look like me were actually not free. I mean, we participated in getting other people free, but we ourselves were still in bondage in the country. So actually celebrating the independence for Black people in America matters to me so, so much. I think about the pageant industry. It wasn't until 1970 that the Miss America system, which is the longest standing pageant system in the world, it's over 100 years old, actually allowed Black people to compete. There was a law in the Miss America guidelines that said that Blacks could not compete. You had to be of white descent or actually be white in color to compete in Miss America. So that wasn't even more than 30 years ago that became a moot issue. So when I think about what the pageant industry has done, of course, it's opened up so many doors for women like myself, women of color, women in general. It's always been a platform for us to be able to speak about the things we're passionate about. But I love the visibility to be able to show the different aspects of what being a Black woman actually is. I am proud to be a Black woman. I'm not looking at someone that might be the blonde hair, blue eyes, and world peace, right? That's how we defined pageantry before. But the beauty standards have adjusted. Things have changed, and I do see progress, but there's still so much more work left to do. It was not even just a few days ago where a comment was made that we call a microaggression, which is a passive aggressive form of prejudice or racism. And I'm like, it's 2021, but there are so many things that are deeply embedded in the system here that have to be broken. Oftentimes people will say, oh, the system is broken. No, it was actually built and designed this way. So really a dismantling of it and a rebuilding where there actually is equality, where everybody, regardless of their race or whether they're a queen or they're not a queen, are actually treated equally. I am really grateful to have been asked to speak on behalf of the demographic I represent, and also very proud to be a resident of Kent. I really believe that the city of Kent not only has been proactive in supporting people of color, but also just dealing with the homelessness and things of that nature. I really believe our mayor's office has taken the torch and said, look, I'm going to take initiative and I'm going to take ownership of the citizens of my own city. And I'm very grateful for that. I firsthand have been able to benefit from that type of action. So if you are inspired by anything that I say today, one, you never know who could be your next door neighbor, right? She could be a world beauty queen. You never know who you're serving. You never know what doing these actions, how it's going to impact the next person, how you're actually beginning to dismantle things that have been put in place. And I will link arms with any organization, with any governmental system that's saying, we recognize this problem, we want to change it, we want to do better, we want to do something new. First, I would like to thank the Kent Black Action Commission. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's not just influencing Kent, it's influencing King County and the surrounding counties as well. And then definitely to our own local government, thank you to the city of Kent. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to participate in this particular, program, everything that we're doing here in the city of Kent. I'm a proud citizen of Kent, probably on and off since about 1994. And I'm grateful for it. So thank you. Again, I'm Tasha Haskins, Mrs. Curvey Globe, proud city resident of Kent.
I am sitting on a stool inside of Safeway right across from Rainier and Henderson, staring down aisle 12. There are 4 items displayed that I can pick up and walk out with if I have just enough change. Greeting cards, digestive help, pain relief, and cough and colds. I assume there's some relief for my newfound back pain, maybe some Tums or Imodium to ease my lactose intolerance. But I don't think I'll find a card that I like. Nor will I find a card that will ease the suffering Trayvon Martin's mother feels while she lies awake at night. Nor will I find a card that will ease the suffering Tatiana Jefferson's mother feels while she lies awake at night. Nor will I find a card that will ease the suffering Charlena Loud's mother feels while she lies awake at night. Nor will I find a card that will ease the suffering Tony McDade's mother feels while she lies awake at night. The sound of racial slurs murmured in the folds of her sheets, the kind that rise and fall in her chest, growing into a chaotic mantra on television screens across the U.S. And I hope I don't find that race card sitting there on that colorful shelf, waiting to commit a suicidal dive into my hands. There is not a card that embodies all truth, so please don't go long and throw it in my face. There's a boy standing next to me, brown leaf-dusted skin, mild in manner. I ear hustle, hear him say he's a mama's boy, flowers his lips on his mother's cheeks before he leaves, kind of mama's boy. He admits his parents are his perfect roommates, and that is why he will never leave the garden. I wonder if there is a bullet waiting for him somewhere. A pointer finger hiccuping on a trigger, itching for an echo in our ears, pulling our skin more and more distant from each other. The truth is, we need help. We need someone standing on every urban, suburban, inner city, rural corner, passing out words that are life jackets, possibly in novel form. The prologue written to self-appointed neighborhood watchmen and the police. The first line would read, "Stop. You are pointing your gun at a figment of your imagination. Not all black people are monsters. Some of them flower their lips on their mother's cheeks before they leave. Some of them make perfect roommates. Police, tuck away your polymer toys. We all know that you hold in your holsters the kind of heavy metal that really kills kids. And I am not against guns. I am just pro-second chances. And I have nothing to give these mothers because blood is not a handkerchief. And I am just sitting on a stool inside a Safeway, right across from Rainier and Henderson, staring down aisle 12. Come find me.
Hi, my name is Bill Boyce. I'm a Kent City Council member. Been on the council about maybe 10 years. I'd like to say happy Juneteenth to all of you out here today. You know, Juneteenth is such a very special day. You know, I'm glad we are here to celebrate it today. It took us a while to get here. Thanks to the state of Washington, we are now going to recognize Juneteenth as a holiday, but we are not going to be satisfied until it gets recognized as a federal holiday. You know, Juneteenth is when slavery was finally released, right? And you think about the time that all the things we as African American that we couldn't do back in 1865, right? And it's a shame that, you know, we couldn't be created equal. However, as time goes on, there have been a big shift, a big change, but I want to say we do have a ways to go, and we have to keep fighting, we have to keep asking for change so that we can get recognized. And I also want to have a special thanks to you, Gwen Alacostin, who have been pushing this here for the last 11 to 12 years, celebrating Juneteenth on Juneteenth. And you think about where we're at today, we have come a long way. And Gwen, thank you. Keep telling the message and we will get there. Everybody have a wonderful day. God bless you and happy Juneteenth. Thank you.
My name is Willie Middleton, and I've started in the Air Force when I was 17 years old from Washington, D.C. I was in Army ROTC, which is where you become in the military training, learning military customs and drill. Then I decided to join the Air Force to become a fighter pilot, and this was in 1969. At that time, they didn't have black pilots, and so we didn't have any mentors to show us how to become pilots. I joined the Air Force, became a jet engine mechanic, an Air Force Phantoms, which was the fastest airplane in the world at that time. Went to Vietnam at 1966 to 67, and from there I spent 4 years in the Air Force active duty, and I got honorably discharged, moved back to Washington, D.C., and I worked at United Airlines for a year and decided to move to Seattle to work on the first 747 Jumbo commercial airplane that Boeing built. And I worked there until the big layoff. And after the big layoff in Seattle, they had a phrase, last person in Seattle turn out the light. I decided to stay here because Seattle at the time was a very friendly family city. And my wife and I had one child. I then joined the Air Force Reserve at McCord Air Force Base in Tacoma, Washington in 1972, and I became the first black flight engineer on the C-141 cargo aircraft. So I flew from 1972 to 77, and then from there I cross-trained, I changed career into air freight, where we loaded airplanes, the cargo planes, C-141, with soldiers, equipment, until I retired as a supervisor in the Air Force Reserve. And then I was a safety officer also for the same unit, which was the 36th Area Port Squadron at McCord Air Force Base. And from there I retired at during the time when they had 9/11, when the planes crashed into the Twin Towers in New York. I had retired about 11 days after that, 9/22, and I got out to service at a reserve. But my career continued in aviation, where I was a refueler on corporate airplanes, Ray Charles, Elton John airplane, corporate planes that landed at Boeing Field. So I did that for a while, and then joined a group called the Sam Bruce Tuskegee Airmen. And Sam Bruce, most people in African Americans don't know about Sam Bruce. Sam Bruce was a graduate of Garfield High School. He played football, basketball, baseball. He was All-American. Well, he joined the Tuskegee Airmen, became a Tuskegee Airman original, with a few others that made it through the class. And he got shot down in Italy, and they never recovered his body until about 5 years ago, where his wife found out where his body was located in a cemetery in an Italian town, where every year they would go and put flowers on his gravesite. His wife exhumed his body and brought it back to Washington, and he's buried now as Wasili Evergreen Cemetery. Then I stayed there at Sam Bruce for about 5 years and found another group called the Red Tail Hawks Flying Club. As you can see, my cap, Red Tails, and the reason why they called it the Red Tails is that the tail of the airplane was painted red to denote that these are black pilots versus the white pilots. That's why they called it Red Tails. And if you have seen the movie, the movie Red Tail, you will see that that's what it showed, that these planes were painted red, and these pilots were the greatest fighter pilots in World War II. And they were the first to shoot down a German jet plane with a reciprocating airplane. They escorted the bombers, and the story was told that they never lost a bomber because they were fierce fighters, and they knew how to maneuver against the German faster planes, which is jet planes. But the Red Tail Hawks Flying Club is where we teach kids from 11 years old to 19 how to become pilots in our youth pilot program. And we teach the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, math. And it's very important to know science, technology, engineering, math. This is how I became a jet engine mechanic on the fastest plane in the world, and then become a C-141 flight engineer. Is that you have to have courses in science, technology, engineering, math. Without that, you cannot make it into aviation or any high-tech companies. I didn't know about Juneteenth when I was going through high school in the 60s, and I didn't know until later on when I moved to Seattle. And I was born near Charleston Air Force, Charleston, South Carolina, where the slave owners from England enslaved my ancestors, which I did a DNA test from Nigeria, Ghana, West Africa, and they brought them to Charleston. At the time, they called it Charlestown. But the slave owners from England, Arthur and Henry Middleton, which is my last name is Middleton, had over 20 plantations, and in Charleston and in the whole state of South Carolina. And that's where I went back to visit later on in the Air Force to the plantation, and it was called the Middleton Rice Plantation. And now this is known as the Middleton Place, which is a museum. It's the historical landmark. And they have the oldest garden in America is there in Charleston. And so I got to learn about Juneteenth when I came to Seattle, and I was a vendor. And Miss D. Charlene Williams is the founder of Juneteenth in Seattle. And for over 50 years since I've been here, every year she would do a Juneteenth celebration festival at Pratt Park in Seattle. And I would attend every year, and also was on her committee, and several other, like Yomocho Festival, that I would attend, and they would teach about Juneteenth. So that's how I got involved with Juneteenth, and this is something that we need to know about our history, and right now I'm very more involved with Black Wall Street, how their city was destroyed. And right now my plan is to resurrect Black Wall Street. Well, one of the saying is that if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So that means that you need to know your history. A lot of our youth and our parents do not take time to teach our history. And schools is not teaching Black history, African American history, African history. We need to know our beginning so we know what our future is. And so this is very imperative that parents teach the kids, because as we know that the schools are not teaching this. Little by little is getting better, but we need to take responsibility as parents to teach our kids and to learn. Google is a great way you can find a lot of information just by Googling. I do a lot of Googling just to find out my history, my ancestors. And one good way is to do a DNA test. I did one myself, found out my ancestors are from Nigeria. I'm 67% Nigerian, Ghana, Congo, Sierra Leone, West African. So that's one way of knowing your history, is DNA. And then just research on your own and find out your history. And there's a lot of books in the library that you can find out about Africa, beginning of civilization. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. God bless you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Franklin and I am so happy to be celebrating Juneteenth with you this year. You know, it's so important that we recognize the resilience and the excitement, the spirit of an American people, of Black Americans. And we recognize that we still have so much work to do, but we are celebrating and commemorating this year, signing the legislation to make Juneteenth a statewide holiday. We have to continue the work. We know that there's much work to be done, that Juneteenth is not just a day, but it is something we're all committed to every single day. I want to also thank our state legislators and the community for picking up the baton, carrying it over the finish line so that we are commemorating and recognizing that this is important to history and to Black Americans. So I want to thank you for joining us on Juneteenth. Recognize this holiday as a holiday that we all share together and that the work that we share are committed to is our common goal. Thank you and have a great day.
Michael Powers here for you. This is a great tune by the soulful singer Maxwell. And the lyrics are talking about rising yourself up. And they want you to make sure that you're going to rise. It's called ascension. So you ascend to your best self. You're the highest of the high. And don't ever wonder about what you have going in that department. And that's how I feel about all of us that are here in the Puget Sound working for social justice and equity. And we won't stop until we get to that point. So here it is, Maxwell's tune called Ascension for you. Time to groove a little bit. Yeah. Maxwell Ascension for you right there for the KBAC Juneteenth Celebration 2021.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Karsten. I'm a member of the board for Kent Black Action Commission. I'm also the senior advisor to our executive director. We've been involved with KBAC now since 2011, and what that means to me is when it comes in regards to Juneteenth. Juneteenth itself does represent the day when a certain group of enslaved folks in Texas found out they were free 2 years after the fact that 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Abraham Lincoln. And what really gets to me about that is those folks who found out 2 years later honestly did not know they were free, and they continued to work as enslaved people. It's important that they did became aware of their freedom, and from that point forward took steps to move away from enslavement to freedom. But of course, during those times, there were many roadblocks placed in front of them, in front of that group of individuals that, in fact, some of those roadblocks are generational, which have caused us, Black Americans throughout this country, to still feel the effects of those roadblocks and such. And we're now have become more aware of them, and started to do things to correct those things and remove those obstacles. And one of the biggest things we do is talk about the Juneteenth experience itself, and let our young folks know, our children and grandchildren know what that means. So they in turn could share that information or share that knowledge with their families and friends in the future. This year for our Juneteenth celebration, we were doing a virtual celebration simply because of the COVID-19 restrictions that have been imposed upon all of us for over the last year. But here recently, we've had some relief to that. But it will take us probably another year or two in order to get back to the typical KBAC events and typical Juneteenth celebrations that we've had in the past. So I do appreciate everyone listening in. And you will continue to see KBAC play a role in the community here in Kent, Washington. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Miss Gwen. Furthermore, this is Gwen Allen Karsten. I'm the Executive Director for KBAC, Kent Black Action Commission. And we're here out in the park on this beautiful day. We're enjoying the company of...
My name's Dave Up the Grove. I am your local King County Council member, representing much of the part of Kent. And we're also here with...
Charmaine Boston. I'm the Community Liaison for KBAC.
Yep. And I'm excited to be here to present a check on behalf of King County for $2,500 to the Kent Black Action Committee, to KBAC, to support their Juneteenth efforts, or however they can best use the funds to advance the cause of equality here in Kent. This is a reflection of the respect that the organization has earned in this community, not only putting on a fantastic Juneteenth celebration, but also being a strong advocate for everyone here in Kent. So on behalf of King County, congratulations.
Thank you, Dave. We
Thank
certainly
you.
appreciate it,
Yeah.
and we will put it to good use. We know that a lot of thought in the process was made, and we appreciate the attention that we are getting here today, but it's not just for those of us right now, it's for those of us we can serve. So
Yep.
thank you again, Dave. We appreciate
You bet.
you. Thank you, Charmaine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Serena.
All
Woo! Hey.
Hello, my name is Clifford Cawthon, but you can call me Cliff. I live here in Kent, Washington. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I'm a political science professor at Bellevue College. And I'm really happy to be sharing this time with you because in addition to being a political science professor now, for most of my adult life, I was a community organizer, an activist, and for a short period of time, a journalist, and I still write. And through all of those experiences, I have been hearing the voices of our ancestors and learning from their experiences and studying our history and attempting to further and deepen my understanding of why holidays like Juneteenth and why the current struggle is so important. The struggle for not just voting rights, the struggle not just for police accountability, not just for common decency and human rights, but the struggle to have a society that really works for everyone. Also, I just happen to be running for Kent City Council position 4. So, I am someone who is always supported getting my hands dirty and making sure that I'm actually practicing what I preach. And, what I have to preach here is that we should be getting involved in not just every level of government, but we have to build mass movements in order to push history forward, because power has never conceded anything without demand. Right? That power has never conceded anything without a demand. And when it comes to where we are now in the rights and privileges that we have as American citizens and the recognition we have as human beings, that all of that came because of a demand. It's because black women, black men, black people in general organized, struggled, fought, and died for us to have that. Now, what does that really mean? That when it comes to our history, that often we're taught that we're mere passive observers, that we're passive subjects in our history. But would you believe that slave revolts put pressure on the slaveocracy in the South to become even harsher, to try to repress us, to try to prevent the inevitable, which was the abolition of slavery and our liberation? Do you believe that many social programs today were modeled on community-based efforts to address food insecurities? But even today, that it has always had black folks at the forefront, pushing, sometimes pulling society along in order to become better. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about us. And it's about us being able to rest assured in the fact that we have the right to fight for our rights.
My name is Carl Mack, and I'm the former president of the Seattle-King County branch of the NAACP. I'm also the former executive director for the National Society of Black Engineers. Today, what I want to talk to you about is what I consider the misrepresentation of Juneteenth. In the state of Washington, there's a bill that is currently being proposed, and that bill is House Bill 1016. What we can clearly see in House Bill 1016 is this language. The legislature intends to designate Juneteenth as a state legal holiday to celebrate the end of chattel slavery. There is absolutely no ambiguity about that statement. It is saying that on June 19, 1865, those blacks in Galveston, Texas, were the last blacks enslaved in America, and for all purposes, that's when slavery ended. Well, if we just go to the History Channel, it says it very clear. On December 6th, 1865, the 13th Amendment to the most powerful document in the history of this country, the United States Constitution, officially ended the institution of slavery. Even when you go to the government website for the United States Senate, there was a senator from the state of Mississippi named Trent Lott who also lacked scholarship about our experience in this country. And this is why Juneteenth is so misrepresented, because many of us didn't understand or learn Black history in school. And because we didn't have this scholarship, because they didn't have the scholarship, you got statements like this being made when Trent Lott introduced Joint Resolution 11, a joint resolution commemorating Juneteenth, Independence Day, June 19th, 1865, the day on which slavery finally came to an end. That ain't what the 13th Amendment said. That ain't what history says. Over in the House, you had another Republican by the name of J.C. Watts, who introduced H.J. Resolution 16, celebrating the end of slavery in the United States. Again, celebrating the end of slavery in the United States, again, calling Juneteenth the end of slavery. Now, let us go to Kentucky. In the state of Kentucky, they too passed legislation, and it says that the governor shall proclaim June 19th each year as Juneteenth National Freedom Day. Now, the thing about the Kentucky legislation is that they tell you a lot of truths. They knew better. Look at what Kentucky said. Whereas the Civil War ended in April of 1865, here's the important part. But bondage did not end for approximately 225,000 Kentucky slaves until the 13th Amendment was ratified on December 18, 1865. But we know that the 13th Amendment was ratified on December 6th, 1865. Now he comes down and they say, whereas Juneteenth, or June 19th, 1865, is considered the date when the last slaves in America were freed by Gordon Granger. See, they tell you, most people think that's what happened. Historically, that is not what happened. Now, let me take you here so that you can see in a different light how these issues, how these historical facts add up. Now, what you're looking at is a map of the United States. What you see in blue are the Union states. What you see in gray are the states that seceded from the Union, the Confederate states. What you see in red is what Lincoln talked about in the Emancipation Proclamation, with one exception. You see the state of West Virginia. At the time that the Civil War broke out, and at the time that Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, West Virginia was not a state. But the 42 or so odd counties in West Virginia said, look, we're pro-slavery, but we are not about seceding from the Union. So they applied for statehood. So now, what Lincoln said in the Emancipation Proclamation is that all of those who were enslaved in the Confederate States with the exception of Tennessee. He never mentioned Tennessee because Union forces already had control of Tennessee. But the other 10 Confederate states, he said, those who are enslaved are hereby free, even though it was just an executive order. But he also said this, those 4 states, remember West Virginia was not a state yet, those 4 states, Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, Delaware, in those 4 states, because you didn't secede from the Union, keep the party going, slavery is still legal. So now, from a date standpoint, before the Civil War ended, on November 1st, 1864, the state of Maryland said that slavery is hereby illegal. On January 11th, 1865, the state of Missouri followed suit and said, we abolish slavery. West Virginia, who has now become a state, on February 3rd, 1865, before the Civil War ended, they too abolished slavery. The Civil War finally comes to an end on April 9th, 1865. 2 months later, Granger goes into Galveston, Texas, finds our ancestors still enslaved. He issues General Order Number 3, now hereby declaring them free in accordance with Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. But remember what Lincoln said in the Emancipation Proclamation. Those states that never seceded from the Union, slavery is still legal. Delaware and Kentucky, they never, ever ended slavery after the Civil War. So in the state of Kentucky alone, there were 225,000 of our people still enslaved who did not see freedom until December 6, 1865, when Georgia became the 27th state to ratify the Constitution. Now, from a timeline, in order for an amendment to occur, you need 2 things. If you go back to your civics class, you need 2/3 of the House or the Congress to approve it. And then you need 3/4 of the states to ratify it. Well, on January 31st, 1865, 2/3 of the Congress approved the proposal. At the time, there were 36 states, so they sent it out to the states to be ratified. The Civil War ends on April 9th, 1865. 2 or so months later, Granger goes into Galveston. Now we get what we call Juneteenth. But from June 19th, 1865, until December 6th, 1865, when Georgia became the 27th state to ratify the 13th Amendment, 225,000 Black folks were still enslaved. This is a picture that many of us have seen before. It's from the iconic, historic March on Washington in 1963. History says that there were between 200,000 and 300,000 people that went to that march. This is a picture of that. This is a pictorial representation of how many people were still enslaved after June 19th, 1865. So today, if we want to say that Black Lives Matter, don't you know that Black lives have always mattered? And from the legislation that's being proposed by the state of Washington and what has been proposed by 46 other states in the Union, all have it wrong. And they have it wrong for one reason and one reason only. There was no scholarship to our history. Many of us didn't sit down and study Black history. I understand the intent of what the state of Washington wants to do. But if you want to do it, be righteous about it. America's righteous about her history. You can't celebrate Independence Day on July 3rd. You can't remember 9/11 on 9/10. Personally, you will not celebrate your birthday on any other day other than your birthday. So why should we? Why should we now say that these 225,000 plus Black folks that were still enslaved in Kentucky and Delaware, they don't matter? I contend that legislation that is being proposed in the state of Washington, legislation that's been proposed in the only county in the country named after Martin Luther King Jr., King County, by Dow Constantines and the King County Council, is historically wrong. It ain't about symbolism. Those 225,000, they are not symbols. They are people. They have lives, Black lives. And those Black lives, just like they matter today, they mattered in 1865. Now, when I talk about the lack of scholarship about our history, I was invited down in Virginia to the place where the first Blacks came to America in 1619, and this plaque was there. And as you can see at the very bottom of the plaque, this plaque was put up by the Department of Historic Resources. Now, you see the yellow line? Look after the yellow line what it says. The U.S. abolished slavery in 1863. What they were referring to is that slavery ended when Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, ended the emancipation or issued the Emancipation Proclamation. So I'm sitting there talking to these two generals, and if you take a look at my face, I'm saying, man, this is not correct. So as soon as I get back from Virginia and I get back to Maryland, I call up the Department of Historic Resources and I tell them that the plaque that they have marking where the first Blacks came to this country is in error. They ask me why, and I tell them about the last line. They put up a new plaque, and as you can see where that yellow bar is, it says the United States abolished slavery in 1865. Now, if they wanted to be absolutely factual, they would have said December 6th, 1865. But nonetheless, I applaud the Department of Historic Resources. The department, how did they get it wrong? But they corrected it.
What's up, everybody? My name is David Chirwa. This is Behind the Scenes. I want to thank everybody who took the time to be a part of the production of Juneteenth 2021. I want to thank the City of Kent, and mostly I want to thank the Kent Black Action Commission for giving us the opportunity to do the production of Juneteenth this year, regardless of the difficult circumstances of the pandemic. So those of you that are watching us right now, thank you for your support. I hope that you're going to continue learning and doing more research by yourselves to learn a little bit more about what transpired during slavery and how slavery came to be abolished. So again, this is Davis. It's a great honor and a great opportunity for me to do the work behind scenes. So thank you so much. God bless you all, and happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Places Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.